Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dayini binti Idrus. My matrix number is 1201067. Before I start introducing my final design project, I will tell a short brief about this project. So first of all, the final project that I do at the end of semester 1 is called the Individual Mobile Study Pod. The main aim of this project is to highlight the student awareness about the human body, interaction of space and body, and explore the reasoning and logic in shaping the form. So this limited space of the project will challenge me to examine truly and consider anthropometry and ergonomics such as body dimensions, body movements, human behavior and user needs. Through designing a limited space, I will explore more about a role of functions and objective parameters in the design process. As for the three-dimensional thinking, looking from a different angles, applying a different types of drawing, and creative models are essential to develop the design for the confined space. So this project is ongoing for about 7 weeks, which is 5 weeks of design and 2 weeks of model making. This project also contributes about 15% marks. For this individual project, I am required to design a space that is maximum 12 meter per square for 24 hours use for single occupancy. In addition, the studio pod do not have any connections with its surrounding. The location of the studio pods are just in our studio room. This is because we have to keep the social distancing after the pandemic has begun to spread around the world. Next, all activities in this pod are related to design studio works, and considerations also need address the comfort working condition, including storage, lighting, health, and social distancing, but not limited to interaction with lecturer and friends. So that's all for the project brief. Next, we will move on to the presentation board. So first of all, I refer my issues to Naqli study, which is Surah 40 ayat 64. That means that Allah is the one who made for you the earth, a place to live, and a sky and a roof, and shape you and make you shapes so good, and also provided you with a lot of good things. That is Allah, your Lord. So glorious is Allah, the Lord of the world. So from the verse that I have learned, Allah has gave us a refuge for us to take a rest and provide a shelter from danger. So it is up to us to build our own house or any shelter that is comfortable and safe from danger. And with this, I decide to come up with an idea based on my behavior or my own characteristics. So from that Naqli study, I have some issues that I have encountered before building my own studio pod. So the first one is I want my own space to spend some time and do my own work. But the thing is, I keep getting distracted between my work and other things because I cannot focus in the same space. So I decided to make my own space that I am best aware of, and to create my own surrounding that I am comfortable and be able to work in that surrounding. The second issue is I need a secluded space, but the problem is when I am in a secluded space for a long time, I will feel stressed and suffocated in my own space. So to prevent that happen, I create something interesting and keep me calm so that I can do my work better and have the best outcome from this. And last but not least, I easily get boring of doing one thing at a time. So I decided to make a space that I can enjoy and work in it at the same time. So from the issues that I have encountered, I have come up with a concept which is adaptability. The adaptability is the capacity of built environment to support multiple functions without altering the architecture. This is because as the space grows more and more limited, the people need to adapt to the surrounding to make themselves comfortable. So as the space grows limited, we need to have multiple functions for each space so that we can benefit from the space instead of just doing one thing at the time. Next is the ideation for my studio pod is modular architecture, which is based on the design and use of the system composed of separate repetitive elements, which is similar in size, shape, and functional nature. This modular architecture is also versatile and allows personalization such as adding, removing, and replacing. I choose this ideation because as for my issues, I need a lot of space so that I can make multiple functions and utilize fully each of the space in my studio pod. For my precedent study on this project, I choose Asakusa Culture Tourist Information Center in Tokyo because they use diagonally shapes and that can act as a storage space for various equipment. It's also utilizing the space fully, and for the interesting part of the building is that each level of the building has a different design. My design process, I use geometric shapes which is cube and cuboid and combine it together to become a modular architecture. And the last one is my final shapes for my studio pod. So I use these shapes because I want to utilize each of the space freely and do a lot of things in there instead of just thinking of one thing at a time. The next one is my elevation and floor plan drawing. So the first one is the front and rear elevation. So I make the facade out of timber that arranged horizontally and I make a space between each of them so that I can still see people from the outside when I am in the studio pod. And for the roof, I make only one side for the slanted roof because I have activities that is going to do in that, and the other side of the roof I just keep it open so that the air circulation will proceed well, because I don't have any fans or any cooling system so that I can enjoy more nature air in the studio pod. The dimension of my mobile study pod is 2100 mm for the horizontal axis, and the total of the vertical side is 2000 mm. Because of my ideation, which is a modular architecture, so I designed two cuboid in a different height. As for the left wall, it is 1650 mm in height, and for the right wall, it is 1700 mm. Referring back to the project brief before, the studio pod must fulfill the anthropometry and follow the ergonomic to match the human proportions so that the pupil can be comfortable and safe inside the studio pod. The reason why I built it at 1650 mm is because it exceeds a little bit of my height, which is 1500 mm. As for the other part of the wall, which I built it at 1700 mm, is because the average height for my studio mate is 1680 mm. So it will be great if my student mate can visit me and spend their time in my studio pod. Second elevation is left elevation. For the left side of my studio pod, I make two square of glass windows that is built in the wall, so that I can save a lot of space in my studio pod. And the glass window is actually act as a storage space. It can store something in it, because the concept of my studio pod is I want to utilizing the space fully, so that I can do a lot of things in there. This is the right elevation. So I make a large of glass windows that is also built in the wall, so I can save a lot of space. And I leave some space on the side of the window, so that I can just spending my time there and just reading some book besides of the windows. As for the glass window that is a square combined together, the dimension of each window is 680 mm. The large glass window dimension is 1200 mm for the vertical one. Meanwhile, for the horizontal one is 105 mm. For my floor plan, as you can see, I make two shelves that is attached to the wall, and a drawing table that can be found when I don't want to use it. As for the orange one is that where my activities is going to be, which is the rock climbing. So the next is my section and perspective drawing. So the first one is section XX. So this is the view of me doing my work from the behind. And as you can see, the foldable table, it can be moved wherever you want. And for the section YY, this is where I'm going to have my activities, which is rock climbing. So the reason why I use the orange colors is because it translates to the adventurous, and it reflects to my characteristic and personality, as I built this design, this studio pod, based on my characteristic and personality. So the other wall is I just use a white color, as it can make the space looks more bigger. But is my mock-up model. As you can see, I make my model by combining cube and cuboid to make some modular architecture. And I refer to my issues just now, which is that I get boring easily at doing one thing at a time. So I built a ladder in my studio pod so that I can climb up and sit on the roof to enjoy the view after exhausting doing some work in my studio pod. Next one is the messy model. As I explained before, I make a combination of cube and cuboid at the different size and height to make some modular architecture. So the last one is my final model. It's getting a lot different from between my first mock-up model to the final model, but it doesn't change the shape, as I stick to my concept, which is adaptability, and the ideation of my design studio pod, which is modular architecture. As for the facade, I choose timber as the material for the wall because timber is one of the sustainable material that can be easily found around the world. Timber is a natural material used in many forms for building and constructions, and it has many benefits, such as it is a cost-effective, it has a very visual appealing and versatile, and it's also safe to be worked with. Not only that, the wooden surface can also act as a natural heating panel or cooling elements. The studies indicate that indirect energy savings can be about 5% for heating and 5 to 20% for cooling. So this explains why I don't have any fans or cooling system in my studio pod. The wooden surface can easily absorb the heat from inside the pseudopod and release the heat to the outside, so that I can be cold, and at the same time I can be breathed with a natural air. Next is the wall material. I use the timbercrete, which is an integral material composed of concrete and sawdust. Timbercrete is lighter than concrete, and the sawdust component both recycles a waste material and replace some of the more energy involved ingredients in a traditional concrete. It also reduces transportation emissions. Timbercrete can be shaped into pavers, blocks, and bricks, making it both versatile and sustainable. That's all from me, and thank you for spending your time to listening to me, and have a good